community mourns the death of an officer in a deadly shooting, and the police department steps in to help grieving officers. Action News at 11 starts right now. Good evening, I'm Perry Russum. A Johnson City police officer has been killed. Officer David Smith was shot to death in the line of duty this morning on Harrison Street in J.C. His killer was gunned down by a responding police officer coming to the officer's defense. Here's the timeline of today's deadly shooting. At 7:03 this morning, J.C. police responded to a disturbance call at 32 Harrison Street, the address for Southern Tier Imaging. 3 minutes later, at 7:06, there were reports of shots fired. In that 3-minute time span, that's when police say James Clark ran out of the Southern Tier Imaging, waving his arms, yelling something witnesses couldn't make out. When Smith opened the door of his patrol car, Clark punched him several times as he was trying to get out. One witness says Clark grabbed Smith's gun from his holster and shot him 2 times. The first shot put Smith on the ground. The second shot was while Smith was on the ground. Minutes later, a second officer arrived on the scene and was shot at by Clark. That second officer fired back and shot Clark. J.C. police say Clark fired a total of 15 shots, emptying the gun's clip. Both Smith and Clark were taken just feet away to Wilson Hospital. Smith died an hour later. Clark died in the operating room at 10:22 this morning. This is the first in line of duty death of a Johnson City police officer in almost 80 years. Our Jillian Marshall is live outside of J.C. Justice Building with how the village is reacting. Jillian.
Perry, I'm here at the Johnson City Police Department where it might be hard to see now, but there is black bunting hung up on the building behind me to show that the whole department is mourning the loss of patrol officer David Smith. This video is the scene from this morning on Harrison Street, just steps away from UHS Wilson Hospital and blocks away from homes and businesses. Community members say they're in shock that an officer was shot and killed in Johnson City. One man says he saw cops speeding down Main Street to the scene while on his commute to work.
It just catches you off guard. You never know what's going to happen, and it's just a shame. It's really a shame.
It was very shocking. Very, it's you read about this stuff or hear about it on the news all the time. You never expect it to happen 2 streets down from you.
My prayers and my heart goes out to the family, because I know I wouldn't want to lose anyone. So it goes to show that life is short, and I just give my blessings to them.
This shooting rocked the whole greater Binghamton community, but people we spoke to today say that they feel safer than ever after seeing the quick response and the amount of law enforcement at the scene. Now there will be a candlelight vigil for the fallen officer tomorrow night here at the Johnson City Police Department at 7:30. Action News will be there, and I'll have the story for you tomorrow night. Live in Johnson City, Jillian Marshall, WBNG-TV, Action News.
All right, thank you very much, Jillian. A Facebook page in the officer's memory has been created. It already has more than 7,000 likes. Smith was 43 years old and was in the department for almost 19 years. Known as DW in the department, Smith was married with 1 child. During today's press conference, J.C. Police Chief Joseph Sikorsky had Smith's police badge in his pocket. He picked it up off of the ground after the shooting.
He was a good officer. He was a detective in the recent past, and he's been assigned to the day shift for about a year now or so. He's going to be missed, as I said, deeply by his comrades and his family.
As far as the chief knows, this is the first time an officer was shot and killed in the line of duty in the village. The last time an officer died in the line of duty was in 1925. Sikorsky says his family and 32 fellow officers are asking for privacy at this time. Action News is respecting that wish. Counseling is underway for Johnson City police officers for those on and off the scene. Father Dennis Ruda of All Saints Church in Johnson City is the J.C. police chaplain. There was a debriefing about the shooting earlier today, and Ruda says there were many officers from JCPD, Binghamton Police, and the New York State Troopers, and it lasted about a half hour. Along with the duty of helping the police officers, Ruda also rides 8 hours with a patrolman every week, including Officer David Smith.
I'm like a support unit for the men. And my words after every shift, no matter who I'm riding with, is, we survived another one. And sad to say, it didn't happen for David this morning.
Ruda says it's important for officers to keep the line of communication open and to make sure that they find a way to relax and spend time with family. Ruda also met with Officer Smith's family today. Funeral arrangements for Smith are now being made by Johnson City Police. J.C. Mayor Greg Deamy has ordered flags to be flown at half staff in the village. Demi says the flags will be lowered until the funeral is over. Surrounding towns say they will do the same. Plans for Smith's funeral are scheduled to be released tomorrow. Smith's killer is 43-year-old James Clark from Greene. Police say he worked for at least 5 years at Southern Tier Imaging Center. Clark's family and friends say it's hard to believe he killed a Johnson City police officer this morning. Neighbors near his home in Greene described Clark as an outgoing and approachable man. Employees describe him as a hard worker, and until this morning, they had no reason to suspect Clark would be capable of his actions today.
They've been our neighbors for about 7 years, and they've been the best neighbors you could ask for. And Jim, you just couldn't ask for a better neighbor. So friendly, social, wonderful.
Clark had no history of mental illness or a criminal history except one DUI from several years ago. Clark has a wife and at least one child. One of the biggest questions that may never be answered is why. What made James Clark do this? Troopers searched Clark's home and his personal computer in Greene looking for any possible evidence and information on a motive. At least a half dozen New York State troopers and detectives have spent most of the day at Clark's home at 132 Turner Street in Greene. He lived here with his wife and son. His neighbors say they are shocked and can't imagine a reason why Clark would have killed another person. Before the 911 call came in, James Clark was outside of Southern Tier Imaging, keeping people from entering the building. He was screaming that there was a bomb inside of the building at 32 Harrison Street. Police Chief Zukoski did send 2 bomb squads to respond at the scene, the Binghamton and Endicott bomb squads. When they got there, the building was evacuated, and Zukoski says that there were no signs of bombs, but it's protocol to have the bomb squads respond on scene once a threat or declaration is made. Zukoski wanted to make it clear that the hospital was never locked down at any point. Only 32 Harrison Street was evacuated.
Look at our high temperatures for the day. We did have a couple places hit that 50-degree line over in Towanda, Mansfield, and Elmira, right at 50 for the high. 45 in Binghamton, the high in Afton, same thing, 45. 45 in Norwich. We're dropping a little bit tonight, but although we have clear skies, we're still into the 30s many places. 32 right now at the airport. We're still looking at that north-northwest wind, and it's a little bit breezy out there. These continue to die down. They switch around to the south. That brings us warm temperatures. I'll tell you how warm at 11:15.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Still to come on Action News at 11. The state's budget is due by midnight, but will it pass? Hear what one Assemblywoman says about the topics being addressed. Plus, aftershocks from Friday's earthquake in California continue. We'll tell you about the catastrophic capabilities of the fault line.